Ever seen someone you disliked trip and fall and felt a tiny, guilty smile creep onto your face? Ever notice how you can't help but smile when someone trips? It's a funny mix of emotions, isn't it? We often think of it as a petty adult emotion, something we learn over time. But what if I told you it starts much earlier? Scientists showed young children stories about good kids and bad kids. When the good kid got hurt, the children were sad. But when the bad kid fell and got hurt, even 4-year-olds said it was funny. They smiled. This suggests Schadenfreude isn't just something we pick up from society. It might be hardwired into our human development. And understanding this changes everything about how we view morality and justice, even in the youngest minds. So let's dive deep into the fascinating and slightly uncomfortable world of childhood Schadenfreude. Why do kids laugh when the bad guy gets what's coming to them? Is this a sign of an innate sense of justice or something else entirely? To understand this, we need to look at how children develop a moral compass. Before the age of 4, kids mostly understand the world in simple terms: good and bad, nice and mean. They learn these concepts from their parents, teachers, and the stories they hear. A bad person is someone who breaks the rules, takes toys, or is unkind. A good person is someone who shares and is helpful. It's a very black and white view of the world. Now, imagine a child sees a character in a cartoon who is constantly mean to others. This character pushes other kids, steals their ice cream, and is just generally a bully. Then, in a classic cartoon moment, that bully slips on a banana peel and tumbles into a mud puddle. The child laughs. Why? It's not because the child is cruel. It's because, in their developing mind, order has been restored. The bad character faced a negative consequence. This aligns with their simple understanding of justice. Bad things should happen to bad people. The laughter, the Schadenfreude, is a reaction to seeing the world make sense again. It's a sign that their internal system of right and wrong is working. One of the landmark studies in this area comes from researchers who specifically tested this. They had children watch puppets. One puppet was helpful and shared toys. Another puppet was mean and hit the other puppets. Later, the children watched as a third puppet either praised or punished the good and bad puppets. Unsurprisingly, the kids preferred the puppet that punished the mean one. But here's the really interesting part. In another experiment, the researchers simply showed the mean puppet getting knocked over by accident. The children watching this as young as 2 years old showed signs of happiness. They weren't just happy that justice was served by an authority figure. They were happy simply seeing the mean puppet experience a mishap. This is Schadenfreude in its purest form. This tells us that the emotion is not just about a complex understanding of legal or social justice. It's a more primitive emotional response to seeing an antagonist get their comeuppance. It's a feeling of satisfaction when a perceived imbalance is corrected. The bad person disrupted the social harmony, and their misfortune puts it back in place. So, is this emotion innate? Are we born with it? That's the million-dollar question. Many developmental psychologists believe that the building blocks for Schadenfreude are indeed innate. We are born with a capacity for social comparison and a basic sense of fairness. We quickly learn to distinguish between friends and foes or in-groups and out-groups. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. For our ancestors living in small tribes, it was crucial to identify and punish those who didn't cooperate. Someone who stole food or didn't pull their weight was a threat to the entire group's survival. Feeling pleasure when that non-cooperator faced a setback could have been an adaptive trait. It reinforced group cohesion and discouraged selfish behavior. So that little spark of joy you feel when your rival team loses a big game might have roots that go back thousands of years. This isn't to say that society and learning play no role. They absolutely do. While the seed of Schadenfreude might be innate, how it grows and what triggers it is heavily shaped by our environment. As we get older, our reasons for feeling Schadenfreude become much more complex. It gets tangled up with envy, rivalry, and self-esteem. For a child, it's about a mean puppet getting knocked over. For an adult, It might be about a coworker who always boasts about their achievements finally making a huge mistake in a meeting. The underlying mechanism might be similar, a feeling of justice or rebalancing of the scales, but the context is far more nuanced. We learn who to direct our Schadenfreude towards. We learn what is considered a just punishment and what is just plain cruel. This is where parental guidance becomes so important. When a child laughs at someone else's misfortune, it's a teachable moment. It's not about scolding them and saying, "That's not nice." Instead, it's an opportunity to talk about empathy. You can acknowledge their feeling of justice while also encouraging them to see the other person's perspective. For example, if a child says, "It's funny that he fell," a parent could respond, "I understand why you feel that way because he wasn't being very kind earlier, but falling down can really hurt. How do you think he feels right now?" This helps the child move beyond the simple black and white thinking of good versus bad and start developing a more sophisticated sense of empathy. They learn that even bad people have feelings. This is the critical step in moral development. We want children to understand justice, but we don't want them to grow up delighting in all suffering, as long as they deem the person deserving. True moral maturity involves understanding that everyone is human and capable of making mistakes, and that compassion is often a more powerful response than pleasure. Another factor that influences Schadenfreude is group identity. Studies have shown that both children and adults are more likely to feel Schadenfreude when someone from an outgroup suffers. Think about sports rivalries. Fans feel immense joy when their rival team suffers a devastating loss. The players on the other team aren't necessarily bad people, but they represent the opposition. This starts in childhood, too. On the playground, it's about being in one clique versus another. A child might feel Schadenfreude when someone from a rival group of friends stumbles, not because that person is morally bad, but simply because they are not one of us. This highlights how our social identities shape our emotional responses. So, to recap, Schadenfreude in children isn't a sign of a mean spirit. It's actually a fascinating window into their developing sense of justice, fairness, and social order. It begins as a simple, almost reflexive reaction to seeing a bad person face a negative outcome, restoring a sense of balance in their black and white world. This basic emotional response is likely rooted in our evolutionary history, favoring group cooperation. However, as we grow, this raw emotion is shaped and refined by our social environment, our personal experiences, and the guidance we receive from adults. We learn to temper our Schadenfreude with empathy, to understand the complexities of human behavior beyond simple labels of good and bad. The journey from a 4-year-old giggling at a cartoon, "Villains fall," to an adult capable of compassion for a rival is the very essence of moral development. It shows that while some of our emotional responses may be hardwired, our humanity lies in our ability to learn, to grow, and to choose empathy over simple satisfaction. The next time you feel that little twinge of guilty pleasure, remember it's a feeling with deep roots, connecting you not just to your own childhood, but to the very story of human social evolution. What do you think? Have you seen this in your own kids, or do you remember feeling this way as a child? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's a topic that reveals so much about who we are. Thanks for watching, and if you found this interesting, be sure to like and subscribe for more dives into the psychology of everyday life. See you next time.